As far as the Walt Disney Company is concerned, they only have 3 to 4 branded films coming out this year, and one of them is the prequel to the 3D animated remake of the 2D animated classic The Lion King. Let's talk about the new trailer for Mufasa here on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is the true king of Pride Rock, VashSky. Vash, do you remember who you are?
I do remember who I am, and everything. Everything the light touches is our domain, Jonas. And apparently, that's the domain that Disney wants. At least that's the domain that they think they have with this Mufasa turned, I don't know, expanded universe, I guess, if we're going on the comments of the previous president of the Walt Disney Studios. It's an interesting thing here.
Yeah, they're talking about this like it's going to be the next Star Wars, which is an interesting comment, to say the least. Vash, I'm going to ask you right now. Have you seen this yet?
I have not actually seen the trailer. However, I did see the first entry into this series, so I've got that under my belt.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons that they would go ahead and greenlight something like this. A Hollywood executive should feel safe greenlighting a sequel to a movie that made more than $1 billion. But let's talk about it a little bit. Mufasa, the Lion King. Disney reveals first prequel trailer. Blue Ivy Carter joins voice cast. I'm going to guess that's the daughter of Beyonce and what is his name? Mr. Carter. He's a rapper and he's married to Beyonce. Jay-Z, that's it. Hannah Abraham, Andreas Wiseman wrote this article for Deadline. Disney has dropped a new teaser for The Lion King, a prequel for the studio's 29 photorealistic version. Oh, see, they're not even calling it a live action remake. I love that they're updating here. Of the animated 1994 classic, The Lion King, directed by Oscar-winning director Barry Jenkins, who did Moonlight. The film sees Baboon Rafiki to relay the legend of Mufasa to his granddaughter, Kiara. According to the trailer description, the story will be told in flashbacks and allows Mufasa, which means king in Swahili, as an orphan cub lost and alone until he meets a sympathetic lion named Taka, the heir to a royal bloodline. Aaron Pierre will voice the titular Mufasa, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Mads Mikkelsen, and I'm going to say Tandy Newton will also voice key characters. In addition, Blue Ivy Carter will now voice Kiara, while real-life mother Beyonce will return to play her on-screen mother, Nala. Other returning voice cast members from 2019's The Lion King include Donald Glover as Simba and Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner as Timon and Pumbaa. Here is the big headline for me, though. This went by very quickly on the screen when I watched this trailer, which I got to say, the trailer, if we go back to some of the other live-action remakes, the glass slipper in the teaser trailer for the live action Cinderella, or the lamp in what I'm assuming they put in for the teaser for Aladdin, those evocative images there. They of course have Circle of Life playing on this one before they get into, guess what? It looks like a lion. There's nothing wrong with that. If there's an appeal for it, good for them. Lin-Manuel Miranda will compose the film's original soundtrack. This is very interesting to me because why didn't they talk about this before? Because you have Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is responsible for the soundtrack to Encanto, not responsible for the soundtrack to Moana 2. And of all the things that you could talk about on that earnings call, why didn't they bring up that Lin-Manuel Miranda was coming back to do Mufasa, the Lion King? I'll actually ask this. Vash, have you seen the 3D animated Lion King film?
Yes, the first entry into this series, right? Yeah, that's what I was. So I have seen it, and I don't think was Lin-Manuel Miranda associated with that picture.
I don't think that Lin-Manuel Miranda was associated with the first Lion King live action remake. At that point, I think he would have been working on other projects for the Walt Disney Company. He did, of course, work on the infamous song Scuttlebutt, which was in the Little Mermaid remake and voiced by Awkwafina. I think you have a combination of two things that are not necessarily irritating on their own, but when put together, they become irritating.
Oh, that's a no understatement right there. That's for sure, Jonas. Oh man, let the memes floweth when you mention Scuttlebutt. However, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like you said, it's a big get right here. I wonder if his addition was so late, or maybe there was some kind of contractual thing holding this all up before his inclusion in at least this press release, or other notable areas in which the company could tout this. Because look, I mean, he's not even associated with Moana 2, and obviously that would get all kinds of headlines. The fact that they've almost buried this suggests something else is at play here.
Yeah, it is strange. And we are hearing, of course, with Moana 2 that they are reducing the number of songs that will be present in the film, even though they're still marketing it as a musical. If you go watch any Disney film other than Wish, you will see that the animated sequences are much more fancy, much more high paced. The number of cuts that occur in those films, there's a lot more sight gags that are going on during those animated sequences. They are the film at their most heightened. Even the climaxes of some of these films, unless those climaxes are musical, are not as ornate as the musical sequences in a Disney film, for the most part, with a few exceptions. Of course, Wish, which we hear was very much rushed in order to get it up the door, and the music was not what we've come to expect from the Walt Disney Company over the last 100 years. Now, looking at this, I don't know. This is a film, like we've said, that is completely animated. It's been in the works for some time. It has a lot of the hallmarks of a straight-to-DVD film of the Eisner era here, talking about how there are bookends here to try to remind people of the original film. Donald Glover making an appearance, Beyonce making an appearance, bringing in characters that are, or having this bookend device of the current day characters talking about the older stuff. I don't know if this film is going to hit in the way that it is supposed to hit for the Walt Disney Company. Obviously, again, that first one, that 3D animated remake, made more than $1 billion. And I think that's why they said yes to this one. I'm not sure that Disney has the same environment that they had, the same favorable environment that was pulling every single film to $1 billion that they will have when this one comes out in, I want to say, December of this year.
I do agree. Look, the first entry into this franchise made a lot of money for the Walt Disney Company, as you astutely pointed out there. That is for sure. But I really do, like you said, I really do question the audience's hunger for a film like this. Even the original Lion King, when speaking to fans and so forth, they don't have the greatest sentiment for it. I'll put it that way. So when I think about to continue this on, I'm just not fully bought in. Now, look, if this was something like, let's say we were going to create a sequel for the Jungle Book, like a live action animated feature film that came out from Jon Favreau in the lead up to this one, then maybe I could say, oh yeah, I could see where the demand might come from for that. That was obviously very successful, but it kind of created a world unto itself. This, because it was so derivative of the first one, I just don't think it really kind of made its mark, let's say. So I question this. Maybe there's some kind of international market that could pick this up, but I just don't think it's going to get to $1 billion.
Right. And it could speak to the idea that maybe nature documentaries could be fully CGI in the future here. We don't hear a lot of people calling back to that film. Even the sequel trilogy gets more call outs than these films here, or sorry, this film here. Also, I'm not really sure about the idea. I like the idea of Mufasa being from a line of kings, because the great kings of the past are in the stars. Lion King might be my favorite Walt Disney animated feature, so this one is of particular meaning to me. I like the idea of Simba fighting between the king that he wants to be, that he doesn't realize when he talks about, I just can't wait to be king. He's actually kind of like Scar in that moment, and he goes and abdicates the throne in order for this horrible person to be the king of Pride Rock, and he has to actualize himself to be more like his father. He's forgotten who he is. I don't like the idea that Mufasa is not the king from the start. I like the idea of the line of kings, not that I have any affinity for that. A great line of African kings. There's something to be said for having a destiny to live up to. The idea of him having no drop of noble blood, I don't really care for that myself, but whatever. And then, of course, if the idea of this being Blue Ivy Carter's first role, her being the daughter of Beyonce and Jay-Z, you have to be a person who appreciates those people and what they stand for. And I don't know that the Disney audience necessarily enjoys Beyonce and Jay-Z and their stance on traditional moral values. Here we are with something that I don't think is very Disney, except that it's very Disney. Did that make sense, Vash?
I think it did. And here's the thing about the Disney audience right now: it is so fragmented that it's really hard to say who, at least with broad brushes, who aligns with what, or who what appeals to, or whatever. It's so hard to say, because you could probably find somebody out there that is interested in these things or not interested in these things. It's just the thing is, though, is that they're spending so much money on these films. I'm sure this is $200 million. I mean, the rendering must be extensive for this, right? And obviously the voice cast and everybody attached to it is going to demand big paychecks. So this is going to be a big budget film. There is no question about that in my mind. And it'll probably have a decently sized marketing spend. The fact, though, is that you have to appeal to the broadest audience possible, and I just don't see that this actually does that, for the various reasons that you said, Jonas, and for the reasons outlined in this video. I'm just not seeing it.
Well,
I really
let me also point out that this is going up directly against Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, and between the two, going to see a prequel to the remake of The Lion King, or going to see Jim Carrey, Keanu Reeves, Sonic the Hedgehog, Tails, Knuckles, all of that, Paramount is actually doing a good job with that one, despite the disaster going on at Paramount right now. But that being said, we want to throw this to our commenters. Will you be going to see Mufasa, the Lion King prequel in theaters, or will you catch it on Disney Plus? Hey, maybe you're going to buy that thing on disc. If you were a fan of this thing, let me know, and let us know just how much of a fan of it you are, because I would like to know if there's a, I guess I'll go check it out, or if it's a, I'll tolerate it when my kids are on kind of thing here, because I'm just not seeing it for this film. But of course, the Walt Disney Company will be paying lots of money to advertise it to you, and we will also be covering it on That Park Place. We wish they would pay us some of that money. That would be real nice. I don't think it would change our opinions, though. Of course, like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.